Hey, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. I got a great guest. His name is Mr. Sam Wakefield. He has a company called Close It Now. And I wanted to bring Sam on because Sam and I had a conversation, and there's one thing that's so common sense that most people are not doing when it comes to generating sales revenue for themselves. It's common sense, a very common thing that people don't do. And Sam is a language expert, and we're going to talk about that one thing that if you just start doing this, you will close more, you'll have shorter sales cycles, you'll have happier clients, you'll have better referral. Lots of good stuff comes out of this. So we're going to bring Sam just in a moment. Now, if you're an independent business professional and you're looking to take, let's say you have the challenge of unpredictable revenue, so to speak, sales revenue, and you maybe have up and down cycles, like you got feast or famine going on, or your messaging's not resonating the way you want it, or your follow-up is lacking, or whatever might be happening that's causing your revenue not to go up. We have a math-based system on how to grow your revenue predictably, reliably, and measurably. And we're going to be rolling this out. If you're interested in that, or you're interested in, say, follow-up in general, how do you do personalized, meaningful, relevant follow-up? We have a system that's called Vibitno, VIBITNO.com. Right now, you can see some information on that. And Vibitno, by the way, means you matter in a Slavic language. If you're interested in either or, just email us, email the team at youmatter, YOUMATTER, at ceosalesstrategies.com, and just put in the title, hey, interested in unpredictable to predictable revenue, or interested in VIBITNO, and we'll get back to you and have a conversation. All right, without further ado, let's go find out that one thing you're not doing, that if you do it, it's just common sense, you will sell more. Let's go talk to Sam right now. Hey, Sam, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. I'm really grateful you're here. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely, man. I'm stoked to be here as well.
So why don't you tell everyone what you do? Let's set the frame for this call.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I help people basically with their language. I own and founder of Close It Now. We're a sales training and, of course, business systems training company in the home services space and the skilled trades. And outside of that, I help everybody change their language and change their results. It's incredible the difference that, understanding our language, just literally understanding it to start with, and then making slight adjustments, the incredible different results that we can get with simple substitutions and changes.
Yeah, and we're going to talk, folks, about the most common sense idea that makes the most sense that fewer you are actually doing. And both Sam and I know you're not doing this, but if you do this, your conversions are going to be higher, your close time is going to be quicker. You're just going to be happier all around. We're going to talk about that to come. So when you say you changed their language, what that made me originally, Sam, when I listened to that, I'm like, I can hear my mother saying, Douglas, don't swear,
Exactly. So it's as simple. Sometimes it is as simple as that. In fact, we can actually do a super quick example of probably the one of the most effective things salespeople, or really anyone, can do in their personal communication to get people to listen to their ideas or whatever it is. Is it okay if we go over that?
Yeah. Let's your dime, your dollar, as they say, right? So.
Perfect. So the difference is, and I love word substitutions because they're super quick and easy and immediate results, and we don't have to learn a new skill. So the biggest one that I've always seen that's a pet peeve of mine in sales is the word interested. I despise the word interested, and here's why. No one can be interested in anything that they don't know anything about. And the proof of that is if you've ever done door knocking, or if you've ever Just initially write it before you even get to communicate about whatever it is that you have that you're offering. When someone says not interested and immediately shuts down, all they're saying is they don't have enough information yet. So no one can ever be interested in something they know nothing about. No one wants to be perceived as closed-minded, but everyone wants to be perceived as open-minded. So the easy word substitution is get rid of interested and replace it with open. So instead of, we'll use something really basic, Doug, but instead of saying, hey, Doug, are you interested in learning about, I'm just looking at your background there, learning about new windows for your office space there. And most of the time it's like, oh, no, not really. Right. That's usually the
Yeah,
response.
yeah, that
So
would
just
be a
change
common
that
response.
to, hey, if I could show you how to help out with your electric bill in your space. Looks like those are some pretty big windows and make it a lot more comfortable right there in that room. Would you be open to some more information? And that's it. So
It's
instead of
it's
are you
a it
interested, are you open to more info?
so if I understand, because I love this because it's very simple, and so many people are saying you're interested in this, but how can you be interested in this without being aware, number one, of what you're interested in?
Correct.
And uh, and we as human beings are always curious, anyways.
Hmm.
That's part of. I mean, if folks, if you don't believe me, go hang out with some 3-year-olds, right? I mean, you
The
know,
number of questions, right?
right? 2, 3, 4, right? 5. I mean, that's what they ask all the time. How does this work? Why is this?
Hmm.
You know, did you know, all cows are not brown? I mean, they ask questions like that,
Hmm.
right? And then as we get to be adults, we get cultured and we get you know, sophisticated, right?
Hmm.
We're taught how to act, what not to say, what to say, all those things.
Right.
And asking somebody if they're interested without them even being aware is going to trigger an immediate response. So it's similar to the response, Sam, that like when someone's making a cold call, you
Hmm.
ever get a call like this, like, hey Sam, this is John from ABC Company. How you doing today?
Right. And usually the answer is, oh, hey, I'm not open to this call.
Right,
Please take
click.
me off the list.
Right, exactly. And it's that trigger phrase of how you doing today that actually triggers that.
Hmm.
And so what I'm hearing you say, and I agree with you, is that word interested is a trigger phrase.
Hmm.
And so if we're removing some of these trigger phrases out, changing our language pattern from interested to open in this case,
Hmm.
open is, are you open? And most people are curious enough to say, yeah, I'll be open to taking, even if you said to me, hey, Doug, I see you got really big windows back there, are you open to the possibility of X, right?
Hmm.
I would be far more versus are you interested in the opportunity of X just
Right.
because of the language. So that's
Hmm.
cool. All right. So while we're going here, and folks, we still haven't got to the most common thing yet that you're doing.
Yeah, that
Um,
was the freebie.
that's a free. You got another freebie by chance?
I'm sure there's probably we could have a list of freebies.
Okay. All right. So, oh, that's a great thing. Maybe we can get Sam to give us a list of freebies by the time we're done. I'm putting you on
Oh,
the
there you go.
spot here, Sam.
Yeah,
Um,
no, this is a good idea. Maybe I'll develop it makes a good idea to develop something.
So let's talk about the most common sense thing that people who are selling, it makes total sense, but very few are doing it. And uh, would you do the honor of the introduction to what they're doing, not doing that if they
Oh,
just did?
absolutely. Yeah, so this is one of the things that is very near and dear to my heart because where the background that I come from and the industries that I'm in, it's very much we're working with health and safety. We're working with truly changing people's lives and caring for them. And so that's where a lot of the origin of this comes from. But basically, it's just listening. We have to listen more. We have to ask better questions in our process. There are some, so just to set quick context here, with AI coming around so much in the last few years, there's a couple companies out there that have started recording and they have over 1 million data points of sales conversations. in-home sales conversations with people. And some of the statistics they're finding is the top 1 and 2% they speak about 42% of the time, where the lowest end of the spectrum, the lowest 1-2%, speak about 60 to 65% of the time. So that's the first part of this. And part two is asking better questions. The number of questions that are asked by the top 1 and 2% are usually about 5 to 10x what the lowest end of the category is for, whatever, pick a lane, whatever the sales in that lane is, the statistics are there. So with that being said, what that means is we need to ask better questions, but it's like we do this, everybody knows this, ask great questions, you get better answers. And we listened, but then we forget to carry that forward. It's like we heard did all this good discovery. And then when it comes time to present, we're presenting from the same worn out technical manual or whatever it is that we're offering. And it's technical term specs, instead of, why don't we just relabel things to match the language that we asked them in the discovery? So when someone gives you a concern or a problem, use their words, and we have to triple check it and make sure we heard it correctly and repeat it back and those steps. But then when we present, why don't we just relabel what it is we're presenting that's the solution for that problem in a benefit focused type of a language? And so now the difference is, instead of asking, the question of, hey, do you want to buy new windows, for example? It's like, okay, great. So are you ready to make your home more comfortable so you can sit by your fireplace and watch the TV without freezing by these windows now?
So what I'm hearing, Sam, and we're speaking with Mr. Sam Wakefield, the company's called Close It Now. You can visit them at closeitnow.net. And what I'm hearing, Sam, is we're taking what we know are success points. We are building them into our discovery conversations, our presentations,
Mm-hmm.
and we're reframing those points. Let's say it was an objection.
Sure.
We're taking that objection, we're reframing it, and we're asking it in a question that gets them to at least get to a place of curiosity, to be open, and hopefully to a yes state where they're going,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes sense. Yes, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an accurate
Yeah,
depiction?
that's the huge first half of it. The second half is really when we're asking those questions, when we uncover pain points, and this is really where it comes from. The foundation of this whole process is, one, being very permission based and asking permission to take each step. But more importantly, it's asking questions enough till we find out what the pain point is. How deep does that well go? We need to know, and here's another freebie, a great clarification question along the way is that a concern or an observation? Because sometimes they just answer our questions because we ask the question, but they may or may not be concerned, especially about investing anything into solving the problem. But unless we ask, we won't know. And then we could waste time trying to present something that they don't even care about. So asking more questions, but really the big change happened right around COVID, right around the pandemic time. The way people buy in, the things that the brains work to drive them forward to take action, is very much more connected to feelings and emotions now. So that's where these questions, where most people stop, they'll ask a handful of questions that end at the end of the logic side, but then we forget to ask the questions of why. Why
Right.
is this important, right? What would you be able to do that you can't do now if this problem were solved? Those types of questions. And those are the answers that get to the magic and the sweet spot of what the language that we want to replicate when we present solutions.
There's so much to unpack there. Like, I'm hearing the old adage, like, people buy on emotion, justify with logic. And I always have taught, yes, but they justify that logic with another emotion.
Mhm.
And so there's the why, right? The why, you're trying to understand what that why is. Um, he, very great timing, I should say, Sam, because yesterday I read an article in the Wall Street Journal, talked about AI, and it said AI handles basically IQ versus EQ.
Mhm.
So EQ being the emotional quotient. And they were targeting this toward people up and coming, going to college now, going to universities now. And they're asking the question, what do I have to learn in order to be successful? Because, AI is changing stuff and going to
Mhm.
change stuff. And folks, just a little aside, AI is nothing more than a disruptive technology like we've already gone through. I mean, I'm sure there was
Exactly.
some father saying to a son or daughter, if you learn how to, repair this steam engine, you'll, we'll be having generations to come of repairing the
Yeah.
steam engine, right?
You'll always have a job, never run out of a job that way.
Exactly. Right. And there's been a lot of disruptive technologies. I mean, air conditioning was one of those, right? So
Sure.
heat. Oh my gosh, we're not, burning, wood fireplaces all the time. So the but what I'm hearing is this is directly to the article, and it said if you want to be successful in the future going forward in 2025 and beyond, you must learn not just AI,
Mhm.
but AI will take the IQ and take it away from you. But if you learn the EQ,
Mhm.
then you will always prosper because AI at this point, anyways, can't do that. Never
Right.
probably will do that in the near future, is what the article is saying. And
Mhm.
what I'm hearing you saying is when you're asking questions, you want to ask quality questions that are focused on the emotional, the EQ side of the fence.
Absolutely. Or at least not leave it out. I mean, we obviously have to know some details, but most
Oh,
people, and this is the thing that this really is the key, the one thing that is the most common sense thing, that's the most obvious that most people don't do, and it's what the top perform. You pick an industry, any top performer, 1, 2, 3% of the top. This is where the appointment will squarely land when they, as soon as we figure it out, the actual, the logic, the technical details of what the thing is or whatever service is that we're solving for. I guarantee you, every single top performer, the conversation then turns to how their lives are going to be different the moment that whatever service or product has happened.
mhm.
And that's where the conversation will probably, it's somewhere between 60 and 80% stays the rest of the time. Quick reminders of, okay, remember that problem and how it's going to be solved. Now, looking forward, this is how life is going to be different,
So,
or
folks,
company different functionality, apply it to whatever makes sense there.
yeah, and I was laughing there, chuckling there earlier because I just had this happen to me.
Hmm.
And folks, if you don't get what we're just talking about now, I think this will get it to that place. So I was just having lunch with my wife, and we've been together for a long time now, so we know one another really well, right? And
Hmm.
so I asked her a question, and she gave me an answer, and I noticed that when she gives me an answer and it's like an answer, but it's really not, she's not real comfortable with the answer. Her tell is in her eyes,
Hmm.
right? And so I knew that there was something there.
Hmm.
And so I just asked, why?
Hmm.
Why do you feel this way? What is what is the like you're saying, is this a concern or is this an
Right.
observation? Because I wanted to know, right? And any of you have ever had a close relationship, if you just ask that question, then you'll get the next answer. And what came out was emotion.
Hmm.
And, so we were talking about a situation that was unrelated to me, thank goodness. But we were talking about that, and I could see that it just wasn't sitting well with her. And so I said, well, why is this answer presented like this, right?
Mhm.
Not an attack, but just a question. And she just let it ride out. And then
Mhm.
after she let the emotion fly, I asked another follow-up question and she settled right down. Right now, she
Mhm.
felt better about the lunch, felt better about me. She felt better about the situation. I had nothing to do with the situation, Sam,
Mhm.
but I was the person who allowed her emotions to come and be expressed. And what I'm hearing you say is if we don't let these people express their emotions,
Mhm.
then we're never going to understand the true, what I call the real it,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And so I would challenge people right now to ask themselves this question. Are you understanding your buyer,
Mhm.
the decision maker, the apex decision maker, the influencer in that sale? Because there's, if you're selling, let's say, to husband and wife, like home
Mhm.
services or something, right? I mean, um, you know, the wife might be like, yeah, I want to go, I need a new heating system. I'm freezing to death. And the husband might be going, yeah, but look at the cost, right? Or
Exactly.
vice versa, right?
Mhm.
And so if we know those things, and this is what most of you are not doing. We know this. We know statistically you're not doing it.
Mhm.
You're you're speaking too much. You're not asking enough quality questions. Even if you're asking questions, you're not asking enough quality questions, which
Mhm.
are getting to that emotional point.
Right.
And you're not doing this in your presentation and heading off that which will torpedo you
Mhm.
later on, especially after you leave the appointment.
Exactly. 100%. Because then you have nothing, if you don't have enough information, you have nothing to follow up effectively with. And so here's another freebie for follow-ups is if the way to, and this is the one of the, again, an obvious thing, if you're that person that you've got this mountain of follow-ups and you dread follow-ups and all the things, the reason most people, well, two sides to the same coin. One, the reason most people don't follow up is they don't know the language to use.
Yep.
So because they're during the process, we've got great posture, we're the professional, we're confident. And then when it comes to the follow up, because we don't know the language to use, a lot of times it comes across as needy and begging, and we've completely like given away every bit of our power, and we're just fingers crossed, hoping for the best. So people just sometimes they'll do it that way, or they just don't do it. So a quick, easy way to effectively have do follow up is I'm continuing the conversation we started on, and then name the date about this thing, and name the thing, whatever the topic was, remind them of that. And then when we're reaching out, remember everybody, the goal of a follow up is not to sell something, it's to re engage them in a conversation. Once you're in the conversation, then you can focus on moving the sale forward. But re-engaging them in the conversation is number one. So the easy way to do that is don't just word vomit what it is, right? So we're going to reach out and, hey, I'm continuing the conversation we had on this day about this thing. I thought of you, which of course makes them feel special because I just heard about, so we now have urgency. I thought of you because I just heard about this promotion, this price increase, this whatever the thing is, but don't tell them what the thing is, just the general term of it. And I didn't want you to miss out. Are you open to more information? So when we're re-engaging this follow-up, that is a very effective way to do it because now we've kept our posture and kept our power, and we're the professional there to help. Now, the other side of that same coin is the way to not have follow up ever is to just bam, fam, book a meeting from a meeting. If you only ever book the next meeting from the meeting you're in, your calendar stays full and there's no follow up game. We're not trying to be desperate and reach back to people from forever ago because they're constantly in the loop in our calendar. So that's part two is just the cheat code to be efficient and eliminate follow up is just book more meetings.
So I love what you said about follow-up. They don't know the language to use. They don't want to appear needy or begging, right?
Mhm.
I will add a third in there. They have no system to follow up.
True.
So it just gets deprioritized.
Mhm.
And folks, if you're ghosting your own buyers, how do I say this delicately? Don't be that dumb. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if you're selling something and you don't think you have competitors in the market, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah, you're wrong. I'll say it. I'm the guest on here. You're
Okay.
wrong.
So, and so when you're not following up and your competitor comes in, you've just told the client, because follow-up's a common courtesy. You
Mhm.
just told the client, you just don't care, right? And you left them kind of hanging. And so your competitor comes in and you prepped them to buy from your competitor because you've already given them all the information, and your competitor will close the sale. So
Mhm.
it's an absolute must.
Mhm.
And that's why, I mean, you look at statistics there, they clearly show between 62 and 86% of sales that are lost due to lack of follow-up, which is
Mhm.
crazy. So I 100% agree with you there. I also agree that if you set the next meeting, you eliminate part of the follow-up process.
Mhm.
And I love what you said, because when you're giving the email on the initial, you want to make it personalized, meaningful, and relevant.
Mhm.
And your close actually was, are you open to more?
Mhm.
And if you all are trying to close from an email or a text, stop. Stop doing that. Get them
Exactly.
on the face. You know, they used to be called FaceTime, right? With Apple
Mhm.
or whatever, right? Get FaceTime, and and don't try to close the deal with an email or a text message.
Mhm.
Right? It all, I mean, does it work here and there? Yeah, but your percentage is going to be super low.
Right.
And when you do set a follow-up, one thing I would uh, say I agree with, absolutely book the next appointment. It eliminates a lot of need to like have to do that type of follow-up.
Mhm.
But we still want, I believe we still want to follow up anyways and make
100%.
sure that the meeting's secure,
Mhm.
and then to get any other information if possible out of the follow-up that you're going to send prior to that meeting.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. In fact, I that's definitely something we train. In fact, that in between that follow-up time, the scheduled follow-up and whenever your initial meeting is, what I always recommend is reach out with some other piece of value. We're adding information, we're adding value between now and then. So make it something like, oh, you know what? We didn't have time to cover this during our meeting, but here's this video to watch. Here's this brochure to read. Here's this additional information, or even remembering and taking notes, remembering things that they were really specifically into, and just adding value like that. I noticed you mentioned, or there was one time I remember that the mother had mentioned that the daughter was really wanting to do horseback riding lessons. It was just a passing comment. So at between the meeting and our follow-up meeting, it was easy. It took like 2 minutes. I did a Google search and I found a listing of like the three closest places for horseback riding lessons. And I clipped a coupon for one of them that had like this huge sale going on. I sent all of that to her, said, "Hey, I remembered that you said that and thought this might be helpful." That was it. When we got to the next meeting, it was the coolest thing because now we had pictures that they were showing me of the daughter on the horseback riding lessons, and they were so excited. There was no conversation at the end of what objections did they have. They're getting three bids, all the things. The conversation was much more like, okay, let's just renew the numbers and figure out what we're doing today.
You went from a sales conversation to a conversation of conversion immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because you were, I wrote down brilliant. Literally, the word was brilliant. I wrote down, it's right here on my page. And and
It's listening, right?
you
Classics
boxed
from
out your
Harvey McKay. That's what I
competition. I
learned.
mean, it was like, it was, it's like, there's no way. Like, can you imagine that, that lady gets that and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, these things are closed. Wow, there's a coupon here. Thank you. And then the
Mm-hmm.
competitor calls right after you. And it's like, no, we're all set. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
like,
happens all the time. And the craziest part is these are the little things. Success, unsuccess. Let's see. I want to make sure to get this exactly correct. Successful people do what unsuccessful people don't think they do.
right.
It's the little things. It's these little things. It took almost no time and no effort It just involved listening and then thinking outside of myself and thinking about them first. And that's all it is. And so that's an example. I can guarantee every single sales appointment anybody ever has, there's something like that that comes up if they pay attention and ask enough questions.
And you must, we're not telling you, we're demanding that you use that in your follow-up process because that's what connects people,
Hmm.
right? It's those things that you remember about them personally, in addition to the business, investment that you want them to make. But you don't forget the personal side of the game either. Now, you don't
Hmm.
get so personal that it changes and you cross the friendly line. There's a line
Sure.
there, right?
Yeah.
And in your case, you didn't cross the friendly line. You were just being very helpful.
Hmm.
And that's, oh, man. Um, I think I want to sum this up, Sam, and I want to talk. You have a book coming out, so if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, right? Um, I look, here's the bottom line. What we're talking about, and Sam's bringing forth so eloquently, is just do it. Like, stop. You have the information
Hmm.
and just put it into play in the capacity of what we're talking about. Don't go to all the etiquette training,
Hmm.
and then when you walk into the bar, you revert back to the person prior to the etiquette training, right? That's
Right.
not what you want. If you want to sell more and you want to sell easier and you want shorter close times and you want, quicker sales cycles in general, right?
Hmm.
This is it's common sense, Sam, when
Hmm.
we're really talking about it.
Absolutely. The
Um,
one expression that I say over and over and over that will nail this in is success happens at the speed of implementation. It's up to all the listeners how fast or how slow they want their success to be. Implement how much faster can you implement, and you'll see your success just absolutely increase.
and if you take this information, and I ask all of you to listen to this again and again, dissect it, take the summary and notes, put it into, summarize AI,
Mhm.
whatever, right? Pull out the threads of gold here. And then what Sam said, implement it, right? So
Mhm.
remember, I'm always teaching you focus, discipline, and regimen, right? You've got to, if you follow that pathway and put it into play, even if it works 15% better than you're doing today, you're going to sell more
Mhm.
and you're going to be happier. So Sam,
Absolutely.
what's the book called? Because you mentioned that you had a book, and I was like, whoa, let's talk about the book.
So it's Inner Revolution. And that is because it's a combination of a bunch of different authors, the focus being Inner Revolution. It's really cool because so many of us came together from so many different verticals, so many different trades, from different industries, and we all focus on different inner workings of the body. So this Inner Revolution book is pretty exciting, and I was happy to be able to contribute. My focus was on language and results from language. There's authors in there that focus on different mental exercises, different physical things. It's a whole book of hacks and cheat codes to just immediately get faster, better results in your life.
Awesome. And
Yeah,
where can people get the book?
that is going to launch on Amazon. The launch date is December 6th and 7th, or 7th and 8th. One of the two. We'll get the exact dates. The launch is in December, and the important part of this is there's some really cool gifts that come with the book launch. So there are some gifts that'll come from, at least with everyone has gifts. Every single author has gifts with this book launch. My two chapter gifts that will live on in perpetuity. One is I've actually recorded a hypnosis or a mindfulness session for top performers to visualize what the biggest thing that, as you know, that limits most people is their belief system about themselves. And so I recorded a hypnosis that will help performers see themselves as that top performer and step into that. The second thing is a quote book that I put together that are just meaningful, inspirational, motivational quotes that or some of them are pretty off the beaten path from the traditional ones we always see in the goofy posters up on the wall. And so we've got some good ones in there. And then for the first 2 weeks that the book launches, I'm doing a 1 hour free coaching session with anyone who wants to help work through one of their friction points in their sales process. That's typically it's typically $1,000 to get an hour with me, and we're giving those away as part of the launch gift. So that's within the first 2 weeks of the book launch.
Awesome. So, folks, December 6th, 7th, or 8th, check Amazon.
Yep, 6, 7, 8. I'll make sure the link is get you the links to have it in the show notes for this one.
That'll work out great. Sam, how do people get to know more about you, or how do they contact you if they're like, hey, this dude's pretty smart. Let's contact him.
Yeah, so you can first of all, the I have a community on Facebook called so all the branding is the same everywhere you go. Close it now. So we want to do in our sales process. Close it now. So I would say I invite everyone to join the Facebook group. It's a community that's 100% positive. We support each other and do a lot of free training in there. If you're on Facebook, you can message me directly. Email sam@closeitnow.net. And you can go check out the website, closeitnow.net. And there's a form on there to fill out as well. We can be in touch that way.
Great. And if you use the email, folks, no spamming. Okay. So
Exactly.
I've been on podcasts, and then the next thing it's like, hey, and it's like, my God, I don't need another SEO company. I don't need another, you know what I mean? Like,
You need
so
to buy some leads.
yeah. Like, no.
Right.
So cool. Sam, I really appreciate you being here on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. One other thing I wanted to let people know, because people sometimes when they come on to a podcast like this and we have a great conversation, it's like, all right, so where's this guy actually done? Right now,
Yeah.
you built the company up to $8 million, right?
Yeah, so actually my history is kind of fun. I've been involved in 2 different exits. My first company that I was just a sales guy. I started off 20 years ago in the heating and air industry on the install crew, and then eventually moved into sales, became invested in with the owner of the company at the time, started and grew the home performance side of our organization, and then I took that exit and sold it back to him, and then moved down to Austin, Texas, and became sales manager, sales trainer, and wrote the entire sales system for the owner of the company, a heating and air company here in town. We went from just under 3 million to over 8 million in less than 3 years. And we were 80% marketed leads. These are not warm leads. These are not much in the way of referrals, because we're a tiny brand new company. And so that was where the sales system developed. And then of course it's grown from there.
Thank you, Sam, for being here. Really grateful you're
Absolutely.
here. And folks, everything will be in the show notes.
Mhm.
Reach out, get his book, and take advantage of that coaching session. I'd
Absolutely. Hey, we
recommend it.
have time for one more quick freebie.
Oh boy. All right, let's go.
Yeah, super quick freebie. This is the formula for when you're asking questions. It is very simple. It's very straightforward. Ask questions in this order, and you will find the results that you're looking for. First, ask questions about the problem itself. What problem are we trying to solve? But ask as many exhaustive questions as you can possibly ask. Think of it in terms of, if you were strictly on a phone call with no visuals, what questions would you have to ask to find the complete problem and everything that's causing it, strictly by your questions and how they're going to answer with them not knowing anything technical. So think in terms of that when you're asking questions about the problem. The second layer questions are ask questions about the person or people that the problem affects, and exhaustive questions there. What are the problems? How do they experience it? But also, what can they do or not do because of the problem? And how would life be different if that was solved? And then the third layer questions, and these are the ones that are going to get it locked in for you. How do you feel about that? And how does that make you feel? How do you feel about that? And how does that make you feel? So when we get to those emotional questions at the end of that series, what's going to come out right there are the things that are going to carry you forward into when you're presenting your solutions. To perfectly match up with that, it's game over.
Awesome. Sam, once again, thanks for being here on the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Wow, what a lot of good stuff in that one, right? It was, I mean, look, not only common sense that makes sense, if you just do what we were talking about, it's really about understanding your audience, and it's about understanding what the audience wants, not just on a business level, but on a personal level, and making sure you're hitting both of those points. And you're proactively bringing that up through the power of expert questioning. There's a difference between questions and expert questioning. Questions are people go, okay, that was a good question or whatever. Expert questioning makes people go, wow, I didn't think of that. Whoa, I want to know more about that. That should be your goal when you're asking questions. And you're getting them emotionally involved, just not logically involved. If you do those things that we're talking about, and as he talked about, and I talked about on follow-up, if you're doing follow-up in the right ways, meaningful, personalized, and relevant, and you're utilizing what we talked about here on the languaging, you're going to just fare so much better as you go along. Now, if you're having revenue cycles, sales revenue up, down, if you're not closing the way you want to, if your messaging is off, if you really like you do all these proposals and you're not getting results, or you're getting ghosted, there is a good chance that in our system on how to take and make unpredictable revenue predictable for you, that we can help you. If your follow-up is not working the way you want it to, it's likely in the messaging, and I can tell you it's likely in buyer identification. But if you're looking for your business, if you're having unpredictable revenue today and you want it to be predictable, or you're interested in follow-up, email us at youmatter, YOUMATTER, at ceosalesstrategies.com, and we will help you with that issue, whether it's for free or you end up working with us or hiring us to help you out with that process. Until next time, please do the one common sense thing we talked about and go out and sell something, and sell a lot of it. Make someone happy, play win-win. You win, they win, preferably someone else wins as well. You do that on a regular basis, just watch your numbers go up. It always happens. Until next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast saying, to your success.